So, Alexis, tell us all about the fever syndrome.
Um, Hi Ayesha, I'm very excited to tell you about it. It's a big epic family drama set on the Upper West Side of Manhattan in New York, which I would say has science at its beating heart. Um, a little bit about the story is the family descend on their family brownstone in New York to celebrate the patriarch of the family, played by Robert Lindsay, receiving a lifetime achievement award in the field of science. Robert Lindsay, I have to say, is absolutely magnificent, as are all the cast in the play.
And what's the story? What is because it's about a sort of dysfunctional family. So just tell us a little bit, give us a flavor of the story.
So the Professor Richard Myers, who is a fiction, but is a great man, an IVF innovator, and was one of the founding fathers of embryonic genetic testing, or PGD as we call it here. And he is about to receive the Lasker Prize, which is the sort of Nobel Prize in the States. For his work in the field, and his three children from two different marriages descend on the brownstone and return to what is their old family home, creating a sort of pressure cooker of grudges and memories and sense of vulnerability and loss, seeing their father who has late stage Parkinson's. So this mighty man finds himself nearing the end of life, and it's everybody coming to terms with that.
And I mean, is it funny? I'm hoping to go and see it next week. And actually, it's opening next week, isn't it? Tell us where it's playing.
That's right. So it's on at the Hampstead Theatre, which is rather confusingly in Swiss Cottage. Don't get off at Hampstead Tube. It'll be a little bit of a run to get to the.
I'm so glad you told me that, because I so would have got off at Hampstead Tube and been very, very confused.
So yeah, Hampstead Theatre. We're in previews at the moment. Press night on Monday, and then it runs until April the 30th in London.
Yeah, Alexis, you're known in your playwriting to tackling big issues, but with a lot of humour. Has this got a lot of dark humour in it?
Yeah, thanks for that, Ayesha. Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd struggle to write plays that are essentially about people and human beings without putting in, an abundance of humor in it. I mean, that's where my writing sits naturally anyway. And I think, there is a very fine edge that skirts tragedy and comedy. I really like to, sort of go to those places, really plumb the depths of where those two things can meet. So
which is basically my life.
Yes, exactly. It's all based on your life. But I think it's everybody's life, to be honest, isn't it? And I think when you're tackling enormous subjects, as I am, which I'm talking about life and how life starts, and an inheritance with inheritance in a financial sense, but also in a genetic and familial sense. And when you're tackling big ideas, and the way that you can really get those points across is by doing it in, with wit and humor and humanity. So that's what I hope I've achieved with the play.
And obviously, it must be great to be seeing productions in real life. A lot of your work is, being staged. What was it like for you as a playwright and somebody who's very, very involved in theatre during the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, I think theatre, it's been so difficult for theatre, and what's been so amazing is how resilient theatre has been, given that the profit margins are very narrow, or like no profit. But everybody's just had to find a way to adapt, as we all have. This is how we're doing the interview now, and so we did have some COVID cases in the company. There was a hiatus of being in the same room as everybody, and we did some Zoom rehearsals. But people are getting used to that sort of slightly hybrid way of working, if needs be. Obviously, theatre is a live event, so it really requires people to be in a room together. But I think the way that theatre and other venues, filming, TV have managed to tackle what has been a really, really difficult time for the industry has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it's so great to see theatre and comedy and live performance back. It is, it's great for the performers, it's great for the audience. There is a very special kind of magic that happens when you're in the room in the moment.
I think that's absolutely right. And, being in previews as I have been, I mean, there's such an enormous collective will from the audience to be in a room and share stories together. And some of the audience members that I was speaking to, this is the first time they've been in the theatre since theatres closed just over 2 years ago. So it's a very big deal for them. So it's really important that they feel safe, and there are still safety measures in the theatres, in spite of, where the politicians have laid the rules down. Theatres and SALT, which is Society of London Theatre, have their own rules. So, for instance, everybody gets temperature checked when you come into the theatre. People's status, their vaccination status is checked. They, are encouraged to lateral flow. Obviously, those aren't free anymore. And there are also socially distanced performances at points during the run for people that, still count themselves as vulnerable, so that people can feel safe, because you're not going to have a good time if you don't feel safe in the audience. So again, that's something that SALT and theatres, across the UK have been working incredibly hard to make sure that they have audience confidence for people that are just returning, dipping their feet into coming back, and watching shows.
I think that's really, really important, because some people will want to come back but will have a hesitation, particularly because cases are going up across the country. And final question to you, Alexis. I mean, many people will identify with the theme of your play, which is dysfunctional family, because everybody is lucky enough to have a dysfunctional family. But where did you draw inspiration from?
Not my own, although I say, because Ayesha and I hope you don't mind me saying this, Ayesha, we have been friends since we were 18 years old, and Ayesha flew out to my wedding in New York and absolutely made sure that I made it down the aisle, didn't you? So thank you for that.
Can I say that is a play that needs to be written in its own right at some point?
Don't worry, it's on the back burner somewhere. It's too close to me. But so, and with that in mind, this family, the Myers family, are very much a fiction. But what I definitely wanted to focus on were families that had these high achieving patriarchs that sort of loomed large over them. I am not burdened with that in my family, but I know plenty of families that are in the media, great fathers who are in science, great fathers who are in music, and I have to say they all have very similar fallout on their progenies. The kids all suffer in different measures and in different ways from being able to reach that level of achievement that their father has set out. And it's a very, very particular thing. And it was something that I really wanted to get under the skin of in this family. So, a mesh of various families that I know to form a delicious fiction, I would say.
Well, I cannot wait to see it. I've been to see many of Alexis' play. You are a brilliant, brilliant writer. Your plays are always incredibly whip sharp, tackling big issues, but with a lot of dark humour as well. And just to recap for people, The Fever Syndrome starts next week and it runs until the 30th of April. And that's at the Hampstead Theatre, which is not in Hampstead. You have to get off at Swiss Cottage. Very important public service information there for you. Alexis, thank you so much for speaking with Times Radio, and good luck with the play.
Oh, thank you so much, Ayesha. You take care.